Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the March 19th meeting of the Currituck County Board of Commissioners. And I'd like to announce that prior to the meeting, we, the commissioners, and perhaps some of you, had a delightful dinner meeting with the Cooperative Extension Board. 4-H gave us their report to the people of the Currituck area, and some fascinating things we learned. They had a little quiz that I think Mr. Etheridge was the only one that got most of them right. Mr. O'Neill and I guessed it a lot, but we participated. It was fun, but we learned a lot of interesting things about the cooperative extension. If you haven't been involved, you'd be amazed at the amount of volunteer hours, things that actually are done by folks to help the kids here, and the types of programs they get involved in, and the things they learn. It's really amazing. And in line with that, I promised Cameron Lowe that I'd make an announcement. I'm going to do that while I've got everybody's attention, because if we do it at the end of the meeting, a lot of you have left. But on Saturday, April the 14th, from 10:30 to 2 at the Rural Center, they're going to have a Currituck Sound Water Quality Fair. And there are a lot of interesting exhibits and events scheduled, rain garden demonstrations, kayak tours, history, heritage presentation, and so on. And I think it'll be a great day. So this is a free lunch and a plan to all who pre-register by April the 8th. And you can register online at the currituckgovernment.com website. So I encourage you all to turn out and go to that if you can. Today, our invocation will be by Reverend Dan Berge, who would like to come up to lead us in the invocation and also the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, let's stand. Father God, we thank you so much that we can invite your presence here tonight. Father, I thank you for the opportunity to offer this prayer tonight. Father, I thank you for the individuals before me that serve so faithfully the citizens of this county. Father, I also would like to pray for other volunteers and people who serve the county, everything from the schools to fire to EMS to police officers. Father God, we pray guidance and protection for them. We thank you, Lord, for the country in which we live. We thank you for the freedom that it provides for us. Now, Father God, I pray that the power of your Holy Spirit would rest upon this place as we gain wisdom and insight for decisions that need to be made tonight. And Father God, I thank you that you will provide that so faithfully as you always do. So we give you praise tonight, and we give you thanks for the honor of gathering and sharing in this way tonight. In the name of your Son, Jesus, we pray this. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Berge. Next item is approval of the agenda. We're going to move two items that were scheduled under new business, which are the recognition of the Girl Scouts and adopt a proclamation on their behalf, and also a presentation of the American Red Cross proclamation. Carolyn Self, the executive director, is here. And I'm going to move those right after the approval of the agenda before the public comment, create items C2 and C3. So with those changes, I'd like to have a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved then for that. And with that, I want the Girl Scouts to come up here and meet with me. And ladies and gentlemen of the Board of Commissioners, would you all like to come down and join us? Yeah, sometimes they're very cookies. So.
Yeah, I don't think it
Good evening. How are you today? Good. Okay. You can set those down if you want to, and I'll read the proclamation for you. You're holding my hand.
We promise they'll get cookies.
All right. How are y'all this evening? We're good. All right. This proclamation is about the 100th anniversary of Girl Scouts. Whereas Juliet Gordon Lowe founded Girl Scouts of the USA on March 12, 1912, and whereas Girl Scouting has been inspiring and teaching girls for 100 years. You haven't been doing it that long.
Not quite.
All right. Whereas throughout its distinguished history, Girl Scouting has welcomed girls and women from every background to join and has inspired them with courage, confidence, and character to make the world a better place. And whereas through the Girl Scout leadership experience, girls develop the skills and lessons that will serve them throughout their lives so that they may contribute to their communities. And whereas Girl Scouting takes an active role in increasing girls' awareness of the opportunities in math, science, sports, technology, and many other fields of interest that can expand their horizons. Now, therefore, the Currituck County Board of Commissioners does hereby applaud the commitment made to the Girl Scouts of the Girl Scout Council to serve girls in Currituck County and proudly proclaims the month of March 2012 as Girl Scout Month in Currituck. And that's adopted this 19th day of March 2012. And I signed it right there, so it's official.
Can one of my older girls speak?
Any of you may speak. Yes, you certainly may. Would you like to
Come up here.
Pardon me, the microphone so they
Come
can
up
hear?
here so everyone
And
can
then
hear
every
you.
other girl needs to grab a box of cookies
Yeah.
to give to the commissioners.
Our troop has done a lot of very cool things this year, things that many other people wouldn't think that Girl Scouts could do. For example, me and one of our other girls went to meet the governor last week, and I went to Australia and New Zealand this summer with Girl Scouts. But we've also done a lot of stuff with the community, including we worked with Bark in the Park in October, and we helped with the food pantry, and we help at our church that we meet at.
Great. Anyone else?
A great opportunity.
Got doing
There are two people back there, so he'll share.
Well, that sounds great. That sounds like you had a wonderful summer, too. I had a daughter that lived in New Zealand and Australia part of last year. She just enjoyed it very much. Learned a lot of things traveling. Thank you. That's great. Well, congratulations, and thank you all for coming tonight. It's a pleasure to recognize
He likes my cookies.
Thank you, ladies.
All right.
Now, do you guys have more for sale for the audience?
Not many.
Here. Hey, Butch.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you this evening?
I'm good.
Seen you a long time. Good to see you over there behind all the folks waiting to be publicly heard tonight. And this is a proclamation, of course, for American Red Cross Month.
Yes.
All right. The American Red Cross has touched many lives in Currituck County, as well as across the country and around the world. During American Red Cross Month, we thank those who contribute to the mission of the Red Cross, whether through time, money, or blood. And we invite others to support the Red Cross in helping people in need down the street, across the country, and around the world. The American Red Cross is synonymous with helping people and has been doing so for more than 130 years. Throughout the past year, the American Red Cross launched hundreds of disaster relief operations in the United States to help people affected by fires, floods, hurricanes, and tornadoes. The American Red Cross also supported major international disasters, including the Japan earthquake and tsunami response, while continuing its work on the 2010 Haiti earthquake response and recovery. In Currituck County, the Red Cross works tirelessly through its one employee and 65 volunteers to support us when disaster strikes. When someone needs life-saving blood or the comfort of a helping hand, it provides 24-hour support to members of the military, veterans, and their families, and provides training in CPR, aquatic safety, and first aid. For nearly 100 years, United States presidents have called on the American people to support the Red Cross and its humanitarian mission. Our community depends on the American Red Cross, and because it's not a government agency, the Red Cross depends on support from the public to continue its humanitarian work. This is especially important in these challenging economic times, which impact the Red Cross and many people in our community and across the nation. So now, therefore, the Currituck County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims March 2012 as American Red Cross Month. It encourages all Americans to support this organization and its noble humanitarian mission. adopted this the 19th day of March, 2012.
Thank you.
And that's for you.
When you have a major disaster, you see us out a lot. But I'd like, sometimes the Board of Commissioners don't understand there's another service that we provide, and that's our single-family fire program. And most of the time you don't see us because they happen in the middle of the night. In fact, just a few weeks ago, at 3:45 in the morning, my pager went off, and I came over here to assist a family who'd had a house fire. And each year we respond to a number of house fires in our areas, and we'll continue to do so as long as the call comes in. We'll be here when we're needed and to provide that important service. And we thank the people of Currituck for the support that they've given us through the years, and know that their Red Cross is here and going to take care of them. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to mention briefly about the scope of that, too. Now, I don't know what the statistics are recently, but I recall this from about a year ago working with Community Foundation. You actually normally were serving about 80 families that were affected by fires in this area each year at a cost of about $3,000 each. So if you do the math, that means they need about $20,000 every month in contributions to help support those efforts. So by all means, if you can, please help out with that, because that's very important.
Yeah, and with the economic downturn, what a lot of people don't realize, when I used to go to a house fire, I'd go and find 4 people living in a house. Now with families that they've lost their homes and they've moved back in, I'm going to homes where we have upwards of 10 people. The other day we had a fire in one of my other counties, and we had 13 people living in a 3-bedroom house that they were trying to survive. They couldn't even afford the electric with all those people in the house. And so, we're seeing an impact of that. But as long as the call comes in and the people need our help, no matter what, the Red Cross is going to be there, no matter what time, day or night. And by the way, I'm the one that gets the call, and I am the one employed. And what you don't know is the chapter covers 8 counties. I have 8 counties of responsibility, and I'm also not just the executive director, I'm the emergency services director also. So I'm responsible for disaster services for all 8 of those counties.
Well, thank you for all that you do for us.
Thank you.
Where my cookies go? I swapped cookies. You didn't sample them. Pass those down to Brenda, because they're not on my diet. Got them sugar. Okay, we'll move on now to the public comment session. And first off, for items that are not on the agenda, I have signed up Mr. Earl White, who wants to address the UDO. If you'd come to the podium, please, and give your name and address. And I just want to comment on this. The public comment session is for people that have any item of interest that they would like to discuss or put before the commissioners and the public. We allot you a time limit of 3 minutes for that, normally because of the amount of business we have to do, so please try to stay with that. And if anybody did not sign up ahead of time but would like to comment, please let me know when we finish the ones that did sign up, and we'll be glad to accommodate you. So, Mr. White.
My name's Earl White. I live at 108 South Marshall Road in Shawboro. I've been a resident of Currituck for 19 years. I just want to thank Mr. Ben Woody and Commissioner Petrie for coming to the Walnut Island Property Owners Association, which I'm on the board there. We held 3 town hall meetings about the UDOs. And the reason it took 3 is because we were having a hard time getting most of the people notified. But the 3rd meeting we had with them, it was a standing room only thing. The Walnut Island Property Owners Association Board was very pleased with Mr. Woody's presentation, and he answered a lot of questions that were up in the air with the people. When they first heard about this Unified Development Ordinance, people were worried that, well, those that have campers down there, they had understood that they were being thrown out. That, if you had a camper, boom, you're off the island, you no longer. Well, I'm pleased, was very pleased, because Mr. Woody's explanation to the Unified Development Ordinance, there were a lot of concerns about this. Mr. Woody explained that it's not the county's intent to kick the people who live in campus out of the campus section. He assured them that the county is here to help them. Those who own single lots in the campus section, when this ordinance is drawn up, they will be able to build a stick home on a single lot. The people, I've talked with Mr. Petrie a lot. The people call me for some reason down there, I guess because I'm on the board, but they were concerned about this, and I just want to again thank Mr. Woody and Mr. Petrie for giving up their time and giving their expertise down there, and they answered so many questions, and I would say 90% of the people down there now are completely satisfied with what the explanations were about the Unified Development Ordinance. And Mr. McCree, I talked to him, it wasn't about that, but I am getting great response from y'all, and I really appreciate it. I know we're a little neighborhood down there. I've just got property down there, but I appreciate that we ask questions or we ask for anything, and if you don't have the answer right away, at least you get back to us. So again, I appreciate you. I appreciate the commissioners. Mr. Woody, again, thank you for your explanation. You helped out tremendously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White. Next, I have signed up Jill Rothfuss regarding the UDO.
Good evening. My name is Jill Rothfuss, 129 Deer Run, Moayac, North Carolina. We did have a work session today at 9:30 with you guys. Wanted to thank you guys that were able to make it there for coming and participating. I did want to reiterate a concern that this has been passed without being able to review the red line documents and the definitions that have been submitted, as well as the planting guide is missing. I think it's very important as far as having those things available for the citizens to review before it gets passed by the planning board. Kind of reminds me of the Healthcare Act. Any rate, I do believe that you guys are attempting to protect personal property rights. I just think that there's still some things that are of grave concern in the UDO, and would hope to continue to have this open discussion that we've had. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Ms. Rothfuss. Ms. Tony Tabb, next.
Good evening. I'm Tony Tabb. I live at 328 Mason Lane in Moayac. And as Jill Rothfuss said earlier today, the members of our actually it was two groups, the Currituck Citizens Against Agenda 21 and the Northeast North Carolina Concerned Citizen Groups met with all of you to finally be able to discuss our concerns in something more than just a 3-minute one-way conversation that we have here in these meetings. The invitation we received from County Manager Don Scanlon attempted to set rules for this meeting to limit our conversation only to specific items of objection in the proposed UDO rewrite draft. Barring any discussion about UN Agenda 21, which was our major objection, the process under which the rewrite was developed, which was another concern that we had, or any criticisms of the current UDO. Quite frankly, setting these types of limits on our free speech at a public meeting only confirmed our earlier criticisms about the process used by the county to manipulate the outcomes of the citizen-driven process used to write the UDO. One more thing. Despite the harsh treatment of our speakers, and it was harsh, and continued attempts to ridicule and limit our speech throughout the meeting, we were still able to raise concerns about sustainable development, which is the UN Agenda 21 plan, which remains today undefined in this document. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tabb. Is there anyone else who would like to address the commissioners during the public comment session before we move on?
Mr. Chairman, I was asked to give some information on the Ducks Unlimited banquet in the public comment period, if that would be appropriate
certainly.
Before people go to sleep.
I agree. I go keep it exciting tonight.
I got a couple bullet points. I'm not going to go through all of them, but this Saturday night, the 24th, is the 75th anniversary of Ducks Unlimited. This year is the 75th anniversary. The Currituck County chapter banquet will be at Hampton Lodge at 5 p.m. And I don't know if many people know, but Ducks Unlimited started in Currituck County with Joseph P. Knapp and a group of local guides and hunters while on Mackey Island. Although our chapter boasts 350 members, it is ranked in the top 100 amongst the 3,600 chapters worldwide. We didn't have a lot of birds this year, but they have a lot of people did come and hunt and spend dollars in Currituck County. The banquet sells out fast. The food is good. There's a lot of good stuff being auctioned and raffled. There's a hunt to Argentina, one to Costa Rica, fishing trip, some guns, local guided hunts, and a lots more. And there's opportunities to support the Green Wings and conservation efforts. Tickets and sponsorships are still available, but you need to let somebody know as soon as you can. You can go to ducksunlimited.org, North Carolina events, Currituck dinner. And if you have questions, you can contact Eddie Morgan at 202-5601. That's the chapter president, and that's Eddie Morgan at 202-5601. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else?
Yes, yes, sir. This Saturday also from 4 to 7, the Shawboro Realty Club will have a prime rib dinner, something they've done for many years, and it's very good. So if you're looking for a good place to go eat Saturday night and you don't go to the DU banquet, come to the Shawboro Realty Club and support the Realtons in their efforts to better the community.
And they are nice. I've been over there for those before. Good.
Well, then I'll go ahead and piggyback to that. I'd like to thank the Ruitons in Moyock for hosting a meeting Monday night on incorporation. From that meeting, I've spoken briefly to the planning staff and to our county manager about taking on a small area plan for the Moyock area. So we will be coordinating some public meetings on that in the future, hopefully the near future, but I will coordinate that with Mr. Woody and the planning staff. So just a FYI on that. But thank you for all that attended that meeting Monday night.
All right. That's all the public comment. We'll move on to the public hearings. First hearing, item A, public hearing and action, PB 99-13, Brady Landing, Lot 9A. Request for an amended preliminary plat special use permit for one additional lot located at 136 Happy Landing, tax map 52C, parcel 9A, Crawford Township. And this is a special use permit, so the participants must be sworn in. Going to testify to this matter. Be sure that you come forward now. And that's all. Then if you left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And we'll open the public hearing. Mr. Woody, would you care to tell us what it's about?
Absolutely. This is a preliminary plat request for the Board of Commissioners tonight. As you know, Brady Landing is a subdivision that's adjacent to our airport. It is located in the airport overlay. However, Brady Landing is unique because one of the principal components of this subdivision is to allow people to live adjacent to the airport and also taxi their planes into the airport and take advantage of that proximity. Of course, we don't, moving forward outside the boundaries of this particular plat, you won't see an expansion of the Brady Landing Air Park anymore because the FAA now frowns upon those types of developments. But we do have an existing one here in Currituck, and it is unique. This particular request is taking a lot that was part of the original Phase 1 of Brady Landing, and it is subdividing that lot into two lots. The original lot was obviously twice the minimum lot size required. Therefore, this allows for this division to occur. So what you end up having is you take a 2-acre site and you subdivide it into two lots. That brings Phase 1 up to a total of 16 lots. Brady Landing also has a Phase 2, which is moving forward, and I believe Phase 2 has 13 lots. Again, project density is 1 unit per acre type development. Streets are built to DOT design and construction standards. It's served by county water, on-site septic systems. For this subdivision, there's not an open space requirement. Your findings are included in your packets. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have on the findings. Staff does think this meets the requirements for preliminary plat approval. We do recommend approval for that reason, and I'm happy to answer any questions the boards may have.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Woody?
Chairman, can I ask one for informational purposes? We've been talking about our current UDO and the new UDO. How many meetings and approvals did this have to go through to create one lot under our current Unified Development Ordinance?
5.
5 meetings just to
Yes.
get to here,
Yes.
to do one lot.
Yes.
Under the rewrite of the Unified Development Ordinance, how many meetings would this person have to go through to do one lot?
2.
And those would be administratively, right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
And so we would be cutting 3. And this particular one here, I know, had to hire engineers, had to, all these people comment on it, and it's taken how long to get this far, Eddie?
Probably about four or 5 months.
To do one lot?
To go with the meetings that he talked about, the 5, I have to go to a pre-submittal meeting, a submittal meeting, and then to the meeting. So, I mean, that's, and Ben can verify that, but the,
These are billable hours, aren't they, Eddie? So,
yes, they are. Yes,
Well,
they are.
I
But
wanted to bring that up to highlight the difference in what we're doing versus how we've been doing it. And Mr. Woody and nobody is responsible for that. They're just
Yeah.
following what the ordinance says.
That's
But
correct.
this is some of the things that are going to be improved with the adoption of some of the changes in the Unified Development Ordinance.
some of the changes, and actually, Ben and his staff have been very cooperative in streamlining the process that we have now, because once upon a time, back in 07, 06, 07, it was probably upwards of 7 or 8 meetings. So they have been trying to work in an effort to make the approval process more streamlined. And and what caught this one in the catch-22 was a parent parcel rule that declared it a major subdivision, and then it had to go back by the rules that were applied. But yes, the new rewrite is a more submittal friendly, more meeting friendly. So it's welcomed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Following up on Mr. O'Neill's comments, wouldn't it be a whole lot better to you and to the people you represent to have one meeting and then a
Certainly.
administrative approval?
Well, yes, it certainly would, to move things along and keep the clients happy.
Thank you,
Right.
Mr. Chairman.
any other questions for Mr. Woody? Mr. Hyman, did you want to speak on behalf of the applicant?
Well, it's a pretty cut and dried division. Like I say, no infrastructure required. I think the other thing required to do is a water tap fee for the additional lot and things like that. But I'll be available for any questions if there's any to be asked.
Any questions for Mr. Hyman? Okay.
Thank
Nobody
you.
else signed up to speak to this, so if that's all of the comments and questions, we'll close the public hearing, and I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item B, public hearing in action, PB 11-01, Monterey Greens. Requests a special use permit amendment to increase the height of miniature golf course features as measured from natural grade SUP condition number 12, located at 810 Ocean Trail in Monterey Shores and Buck Island, tax map 116, parcel 3W, tax map 116D, parcel 3D, Poplar Branch Township. And here again, this is a special use permit and amendment, which means anyone testifying has to be sworn. So if you're going to talk, and I have Mr. Weimer and Stoneberger signed up, so come up and left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, thank you. And we'll open this public hearing. Mr. Woody, if you'd like to explain to us exactly what the situation is.
My comments will be fairly brief, actually. This is a special use permit that the commissioners issued on March 7th of 2011, and the permit was to allow construction of a miniature golf course. And actually, I don't think it was March. That's an incorrect date in the packet. But anyways, the Board of Commissioners issued a special use permit to allow construction of a miniature golf course and some buildings associated with that. One of the conditions that was included in the use permit was that any features of the golf course would be limited to a maximum height of 15 feet as measured from natural grade. So what that means is we take the grade, the elevation that existed before this site began to develop and went under construction, and from that we measure a height of 15 feet, which will be the maximum elevation of any features of the putt-putt course. Now, because this is a special use permit and that was the condition of the permit, that did not give staff the ability to modify that condition. Therefore, the applicant has to come back and request that modification from this Board of Commissioners. What's happened is this site has been under construction, as you can see on some of the pictures we have. You can see the lighthouse there and the cave, the lighthouse in the foreground, or almost in the foreground, the cave in the background. Those are the two features that are in question. There's another angle of the lighthouse and the building that's on the site. These pictures are taken from NC-12. There's an angle looking southwesterly, or southeast, westerly, excuse me, down NC-12. You can see the lighthouse. Can't see the cave as much in that picture. Again, that one you can see the lighthouse and cave, and the other putt-putt. See a wellhead club there, Heritage Park. And this is the site plan, which is probably too small to see at this scale. But anyways, the construction occurred. One thing the county requires for commercial sites is when it's done, we have to get as-built surveys. Well, that is, so we can take the original plan, then we can see the as-built survey and make sure that things were constructed according to the plan approval. In this instance, two issues came to our attention during that as-built. One is that the lighthouse, as measured, is 16.1 feet above natural grade. So you've got about a 1.1 foot issue on the lighthouse. The rock cave is 17.25 feet above natural grade, so you've got about a 2.25 foot issue with the rock cave. Now, what I will note to the board is that it's not the features themselves that are creating the height issue. The features, as far as I know, were installed to the height they were ordered and installed to the height they were planned to be. Where the problem has occurred is with the grading that occurred. The existing natural grade, the proposed grades or the final grades ended up being higher than what the proposed grades were. So what I think where the problem comes in is really not from the feature itself, but from the grading work that was done. That's what's created the issue with the height, and I'll let Mr. DeLucia explain that more. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions the Board of Commissioners may have.
Questions from Mr. Woody?
I do. Go ahead. The finished grade and the starting grade, was there any way to predict the variance that before going in? Did somebody not do their homework, or what caused all this?
I don't want to speak for Mr. DeLucia as an applicant, but I would say there was probably some error or some issue with the contractor doing the grading. We knew what the existing grade was because we had topo lines or elevation shots, and we knew what the proposed grade was supposed to be. In one instance, the actual proposed grade was going to be less. They were going to take a 1 foot of cut from the site than the natural grade. In the other instance, they were adding fill. So somehow, during this process, we ended up just getting too much fill in both those spots. Now, how that error occurred on site during the construction process, I'm not sure I can answer that. In one instance, for the lighthouse, you've got about a 4 foot grade differential. Where the cave is, if I've got the math right, you've got about a 2.75 foot grade differential, which is what I'm saying is they put too much fill on those two areas.
Isn't that regulated as far as they've got, I guess, survey marks or whatever that they can tell if it's too high?
I would think so, but I don't know that I can answer that.
But typically the process is to have the tripod, I'm not a surveyor, but to determine the height and the grade. That's usually something that's watched pretty carefully.
Things usually come out pretty close to the way they're planned. There's always some minor variation,
but not 2 feet.
Not. I would say not typically.
Okay.
Mr. Hyman?
I distinctly remember when this come forward. This is one of those that there wasn't a whole lot of support for in the beginning from the property owners, but they worked together and they, with the developer, and they come to some consensus, and it was all moving fine. So I'd just like to know what happened. The other piece is the means of egress and the ingress and egress, has that changed from what was the original plat?
Originally, when this came forward, there was an access point proposed from NC-12 directly onto their property. The problem with that was it didn't meet spacing requirements, so that means that access was going to be too close to Malia Drive. You want to have some distance between access points so vehicles can make safe turning movements. During the review process, DOT requested, and the county requested, the access be removed from their property. However, DOT did allow them to install the access through DOT. So their access off 12 actually goes through DOT's property or DOT's right-of-way. I don't remember when that exactly changed, but I feel like that was something that moved forward with the plan that was approved by the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, how about the berming that was out in front?
The berming will have to be reconstructed and planted to meet what the plan was. I mean, they've still got another step to do in their grading and getting this project finalized out. And of course, county staff will go out and inspect the berming and the planting to make sure that meets the approved plan.
So in essence, what we're talking about tonight is nothing but exceeding the height restrictions that was put on by this board.
The lighthouse and the cave, that's a condition this board put on the permit. That's a condition this board has to work its way through.
Mr. Heatherly.
Using that picture, how much higher will that berm be that's constructed? And how tall will the vegetation be above the berm?
I think you'll be able to see the top of the lighthouse still. I mean, using the picture, it's not going to totally obscure the elements of the golf course.
That the elements if they were lowered or the elements if they remain?
I think you'd see the elements either way. I don't think it would totally screen the features of the golf course. I would ask probably Mr. DeLucia to comment on that as well, but I don't think that it ever would have totally. It's hard to have a berm and vegetation that screens 15 feet.
So you can still see the street light that's back in the left-hand corner and the right-hand edge of it.
I don't think it wouldn't totally obscure those features, but the berm and the plantings will certainly soften the look of those.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, is that all, Mr. Woody?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. DeLucia, you want to speak for the applicant?
Good evening. My name is John DeLucia. I'm from Albemarle & Associates. You all got more Girl Scout cookies than the Board of Commissioners of Dare County got this morning. I'll let you know that. Can we put mine on? Thanks. You want to do it? Yeah, I'd love it. Which button? That's forward. Okay. You all approved Monterey Greens last year. To answer a couple of the questions right off, Commissioner Adlett, there was always the entrance onto the highway that was requested by the citizens and by this board and by planning that we consider putting a deceleration lane in there. It was also requested by planning staff and by this board that we not only dedicate an area to put the greenway or a pathway, a sidewalk through there, but we would also build that sidewalk. There was a grading plan submitted. You had it in your package. It's part of the approved site plan to show an ADA compliant sidewalk that runs along the front of this property. And then you also asked if we would consider taking that sidewalk all the way to Albacore Drive, which we are in the process of building right now. There were 6 large cables coming to the switch that is located on the corner of Malia and the Highway 12 there. Those had to be lowered. A lot of the disturbance that occurred to the berm, along the top of the berm, was the result of Dominion Power lowering those cables. I will tell you that the top of that berm was not lowered that much, except where the driveway came through, and that was part of the approved plan. It was part of the approved grading plan that was submitted, reviewed, trying to make the sidewalk ADA compliant it was a difficult thing with that berm in front. The other thing that was asked by the citizens was that we don't make this a pirate ship golf course. And pirate ships are very popular today with miniature golf course enthusiasts. But we were asked, can you theme it? So we themed this at the cost of several $100,000 to fit into the Corolla Village. I want to show you some of the scenes. What am I pointing at, Ben? There. Okay. All of these elements that you're looking at right now are below the height limit. I calculated them personally from the existing grade to the finished grade to how high it was, and we provided the staff with that information before we started construction. We were asked if we would do some of the wild horses. We have done some wild horses in there. That's the cave structure you're talking about. That we're talking it's 2.25 feet taller than it should be, and that's because the grade there was about 18 inches higher at the base of the cave. It wasn't 2 feet. It was about 18 inches. A foot of that are those trellises that you see up on top of there, because those are 6x6s. These elements here all meet. This element meets the height limitation. The rest of the grading on the site was real close. And I'll tell you, when the question came up about a month and a half ago from the citizens, we went out immediately and surveyed it. We had to wait until these elements were erected before we could survey, but we were surveying these almost immediately. This element right here, the model of the Whalehead Club, was supposed to be just an old hotel. That's what it was originally planned for. When the designers who built these, and they're from Arizona, when we asked them, could you model this something after, make it kind of look like the Whalehead Club, they told us we could make it look like the Whalehead Club. And we actually did this. You can see relative size and scales by the folks there, by the horses. Then we get to the lighthouse. The lighthouse is not taller than it was supposed to be. The lighthouse was put on a concrete pad that's the grade was about a foot higher at the lighthouse than it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be cut down some more, and it wasn't. And then they poured a concrete pad on top of that. Quite frankly, the lights themselves on the golf course are taller than anything on the golf course. You can see that in this picture right here. The extra 2 foot, a foot of it are those 6x6s that you see right behind that palm tree in the middle. This is actually a shot looking from the new building that we're building there toward the cave structure. Here's the lighthouse. As you can see on the base, that concrete base, the lowest one, that should have been about a foot lower. The lighthouse was not intended to go up higher than it was supposed to be. Why did that happen, Mr. Eilert? I don't know. We set survey. There were 3 contractors working on this project. Barnhill was the grading and the site contractor. A.R. Chesson was the building contractor for the building, and a company called Harris Miniature Golf, who's world-renowned for building the golf course, was the golf course architects. The golf course architects and the golf course builders were the ones that didn't get the final grade right. That's all I can figure. As you can see here from the caves, looking through the caves toward the building over there, a foot of that extra height is just those 6x6s that are sitting on top of that cave. The lighthouse is problematic to lower, but the cave is more problematic because it's got a hole that plays through it, and it has plumbing that comes up in it, and it has waterfalls that come up with it. And by knocking off another foot of the rock there, is it possible? Sure. Is it going to matter? I don't think so, really, because I've got a few other photos. This picture right here is actually a view from the top of that rock structure, looking down and looking back and looking at the plaza beyond. The tree that you see between the Whalehead Club and the lighthouse, the oak tree there, was scheduled to be removed by our plan. We were able to work around it and save it. We saved all of the oak tree vegetation that we could on the property, and we saved even more than we had anticipated we could. This is a picture standing at the cave level, looking back at the spin zone and the ticket booth and where the bathrooms are. This is one looking from where we were just looking at back. Now I'd like you to look at this. This is actually standing on top of the berm there by Mallier Drive, and you can see the lighthouse behind the trees, some of the trees that were preserved there. You can't see the cave structure, but you can see how much taller the actual building that we're constructing there for the pavilion is above these elements. Here you see that we have a lot of landscape that was still scheduled to be put in when the pictures were taken. A lot of landscaping has been put in. We intend to put in more landscaping. We intend to take the berm back to the design heights. The design that was approved here based upon the grading that would be necessary to accommodate the sidewalk and the turning lane, and there's a bulkhead that has to go along up to the north, a little north of the drive or south of the driveway, in order to make a grade transition to keep that sidewalk. This is a picture looking from Highway 12. The original plans always showed the driveway lowering the berm in order for it to be safe, in order for it to be usable. If you look at the approved plans, you will see that it was approved in order to get this driveway in. DOT approved this driveway. Y'all saw this driveway. It was on the plan the night that y'all approved this. There was never been any change on this. Actually, there's been no changes made to this plan since the night that you approved it, other than there was a mistake on 2 elements. Here's another shot from Highway 12. You can see the lighthouse there. You can see the caves. You can see the vegetation and how much higher the existing vegetation is around there. As we move further down south, you see the berm is still there. You see the lighthouse. You don't see the caves at all because of the vegetation that you asked us to preserve and we left there. As we move away a little bit further, you can see the relative height difference between our building structure and that lighthouse structure. And they did a beautiful job building these. I mean, they really, really look good. And I think that our guests and our visitors will enjoy these. Now, another thing that you had asked my client to do is you had asked him to look at some drainage issues that weren't even associated with this piece of property. They were down a little bit further north, up in front of the wing store and in front of the gas station and where Burger King used to be. At about $30,000 of expense, my client undertook reshaping that grading, reworking that stormwater in there to the best of his ability, as we could on our property, and fixed a major drainage problem that was here. Now, I'm not asking, I hate to be standing here asking you to give us another foot and a half, 2 feet. I really do, because it wasn't planned. It wasn't intentional for these to go up that high. They're completed. We're not waiting till the last minute. We're not waiting until June to come and ask you and beg you. As soon as we found out these were too tall, the decision was to come and ask you whether you would give us or let us leave things alone. Leave them like they are. It's a beautiful course. It'll be the most beautiful course that we have on the Outer Banks, hands down, for miniature golf. It's a good tax generator. My client has been a good corporate neighbor. He's done a lot for the county up there, and like I said, we just would thank you for your consideration to let us leave it alone. Can we go in and hack the top off of the cave? Yeah, we can do that. Should we do that? We'd like not to. And with that, I'll answer any questions you have.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. The entrance where the berm goes down like this, is that a DOT requirement, or can it be built back up?
Let us get the sidewalk in, because the sidewalk has to meet ADA compliance. And that was very difficult when Ben and the planning staff said, would you give us a 25-foot easement here for the greenway? We said, sure. And then he said, well, would you put the sidewalk in? My client is not opposed to putting sidewalks and making improvements. We did a 900-foot trail down in Avon along the side of the road because the citizens had requested that, asked if he would do it, and he did, because he feels that, like I do, we've got to get the people off of the road, those that are walking and those that are riding bicycles and pushing baby buggies. And he's concerned about people that are coming and going. You had asked us to put the sidewalk in. We've designed the sidewalk to not affect the berm, or affect the berm to the least amount that we can and still keep it ADA compliant. We're going to stake the sidewalk probably tomorrow, because we had some bulkheading that had to go in first, and that has to go in. I would ask you to let us get the sidewalk in. We will push the berm back up to its its designed height and what it was approved to. And wherever we can get it backed up to where it was, and I truly don't think that it's much lower than it was, other than it has been denuded because of what Dominion Power did when they were lowering those cables. That was a pretty expensive lowering job up there of cabling.
One more question, Mr. Woody. Maybe you can answer this. If it's a problem to lower the lighthouse and the rocks, if it were agreeable to the people that live there, make the vegetation higher.
You have the authority to alter or add conditions to the permit, so you could do that as the
So
board of
if
commissioners.
the people in Corolla agreed to that, that okay, I don't want to see this, but I want to hide it by putting taller vegetation.
Mm-hmm.
If they agreed to that, is that something that your client would consider?
There is quite a bit of vegetation. That
I mean
has been,
taller.
Well, let's go back to a couple of things here. I mean, your ordinance would not require trees of that height right there that you see on the screen, or the ones that are laying up against the lighthouse. Typically, your ordinance.
Okay.
And so we have actually bought larger vegetation for the.
Are they installed yet?
Some of them have been installed. Some of them have not been installed, but additional vegetation I don't think would be a problem for my client. I mean, we still want folks to be able to see the facility.
I know, but is that something you approach the people that live up there as a solution to see what they said?
I have spoken with Barbara Mazzetti. Mazzetti, is that how you pronounce it?
Margetti.
Margetti. I have spoken with her as recently as a week ago. She had asked if I would send her the landscaping plan and the grading plan, which I immediately did, and I sent her the sidewalk plan that showed the sidewalk going over to Albacore. I have suggested that we have another meeting. We had several meetings with them before we started construction. I have not heard back from her. I informed her at that time that oak tree that you see right there behind that boat was a tree that was supposed to come down, and we left it. I mean, we were very sensitive to the large vegetation. There was a lot of vines and bad things up there. I mean, there was a lot of
dipping.
Yeah. This is going to be a beautiful facility for Corolla, and we'd really like to just leave it how it is. We'd be willing to put in some more vegetation, I'm sure. I'd like that to. I'd like not to be held hostage with that personally, and I don't think my client wants to. And we're not finished yet. I'd like us to finish, but we went out early. We did the surveying early on the golf course to check things so that we weren't standing in front of you in June. We think it's a beautiful facility, and I think our guests and a lot of our residents agree with us, or will agree with us when we're finished with it. And everything else is exactly where we calculated. The grades were right. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I wish I did. I mean, we were surveying for it. We were providing the benchmarks. 3 contractors on a site, sometimes it's a little difficult to have one person in control.
Right.
So I'm here with my hat in my hand, basically.
You need to understand where I'm coming from. I'm not the bad guy here.
I know.
But when I look at this and I see one particular piece is 1.1 foot above what you guys submitted, what was agreed to, what we set as conditions. The other piece is 2.25 feet above what was submitted and what we asked y'all to do, and you also graciously said you would do.
And it had every intention to.
And now we're getting phone calls from folks, well, they're not living up to what they said, so where does the county have any teeth in anything else what we do? So, it's as much about credibility as it is anything from my perspective. And that's I don't have a question. I just wanted to make that comment.
Mr. Petrie, you have another question?
No, I was waiting to hear from the people. I'm assuming there's a couple of people here.
And when Mr. Delucius finished, then we'll let the opponents speak, and then you'll have a chance to rebut.
That'd be
great. Have you finished?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Umberger. Hope I'm pronouncing your name right, but if you'll give it to us in all right, name and address for the record, please.
My name is Dennis Humberger. I live at 1002 Corolla Drive. For the whole time this project has been under development, I can sit in my business in Timbuktu. I've looked out the window. I have constantly sent emails to the planning staff from the time I started filling the place, questioning, is the fill more than what should have been? Also, I've sent emails to some of the commissioners stating what I have seen happening. I know several weeks ago, Barbara Mazzetti, Will Taylor, and myself met with Ben and Jason Littrell out along the highway there, just outside of the project, and questioned the height of things. Questioned why the ingress and egress was moved from what we originally thought it was coming across their property, and all at once it was on NCDOT property. And I simply asked the question to Ben. I said, before this thing gets too much further along, why can't the county have a survey done to spot check to see what was happening? The answer I got back in an email was, the county don't have the capability to do a survey. That's appalling to me. You know, all I'm here simply asking is, and I don't want to see another situation that I've seen right almost next in my backyard that happened with Herring Street, the parking that got approved. And all at once, how was that changed? How was it solved? You all voted for a change to the county ordinance, I think it's 1261-63, to allow parking on the western portion of Herring Street that abuts up against Corolla Bay. All I'm asking is for a level playing field. I don't want to see another solution to this problem is to override the conditions of the special use permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Humberger. Mr. Weimer.
The height of this has been...
Name and address for the record, please, Mr. Weimer.
Earl Weimer, 1125 Persimmon, Corolla. The height of this thing was, you know, went through the planning board, the planners, and the commissioners, and it was a big issue. And you know, I guess it was kind of a compromise, but most of us that live in the city, I mean, in the town up there, weren't terribly happy about the outcome. But you know, you have to live with what you got. So, but I consider this to be kind of like a variance to the UDO. It's a variance to the, and one of the requirements for to pass a variance is item 5. The hardship is not the result of the applicant's own action, and this is very, very obviously the action of the own. And to come and ask for a variance after the fact, you know, Mr. Isle had said that those are gross over the limits. I've built 2 houses myself, and you know, you're looking at, when you're grading it, you're looking at inches. You're not looking at feet and being off on the grading. That it's either gross incompetence on somebody's part or just in your face to the commissioners. And either way, it's not good for us. So I think we ought to hold their feet to the fire, and what they agreed to, they make them do what they agreed to. And that's pretty much the sentiment of almost everybody I've talked to in Corolla.
Thank you, Mr. Weimer. Mr. Lucia, do you care to rebut?
Some of you may recall that before my client was able to purchase the church property, that we had a 8,000 square foot wing store that was approved on where the golf course is right now. Would have been 35 feet tall. It would have met your ordinance. They didn't really want to build that. They wanted to build an outdoor recreational facility. The 15-foot was fairly arbitrary, I think. At the time, we were talking about how high are these small... Can I have that back? Yes. Can I get a slideshow of that? Oh, there we go. I mean, these are small, little, nothing buildings. If you had said 15 foot above finished grade, everything here meets it. Everything meets it. There was no gross negligence, I don't believe. We had, actually, the people that were creating these rocks were artists more so than contractors. They were trying to build something that would look nice, that would have the waterfall effect, that would be functional and aesthetically pleasing. Actually, when we told the golf course folks that this was too tall, they were surprised because they thought that it should have been higher than the light fixtures next to it. I'm glad they didn't build it any higher than that. We themed this to Kerala. We themed this to be a world-class miniature golf course in a world-class community up there. It was a mistake. I mean, you know, a solution would be take the top off of the lighthouse and make it flat. And then it would be 15 feet tall. We don't want to do that either. Not that we're going to do that. But to go through the expense to modify these things when it was an arbitrary height that we were looking at doesn't seem to make much sense for a facility like this. And I'll tell you, the grades around the rest of it was right. It was just right where the cave was. They got it up a little higher than it was supposed to be, and nobody checked it. I mean, we checked it. Currituck asked us. Donna asked me, John, is there any way you can get up there early and check these? We're getting some complaints. We went immediately and checked. We found everything else was okay. Finished grade, existing grade, height of these structures, positioning of the structures. We found two that weren't. I mean, I can take that trellis off the top of there, and that brings it down a foot. Those are two 6x6s stacked on top of each other. Does that change it? No. You know, this is a tourist community. This isn't a retirement community up here. And yeah, we can take 2 feet off the top of these caves. We'll go up and jackhammer them up, and they won't look as good. But we can do it. We'd like not to. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for any of the folks testifying?
Here's the trouble. I'm sorry.
You go ahead.
Here's the trouble we've got. A deal's a deal. It's not 2 out of 3. And we're sitting here kind of stuck. You know, you can have a great facility. But I'm like Commissioner Eilert, a deal's a deal. Everybody knew this going in, and you can't have, oh, by the way, and everything is off. And what a gorgeous facility is, but we're being held accountable to standards that we all agreed to, and it's hard for me personally, as much as I like it, in my opinion, a deal's a deal.
Well,
I'm just, you know, I love it. I think it's great. I mean, the Whalehead Club is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Chairman?
Mr. Tyler.
And I echo those sentiments. It has nothing to do with the quality of the facility. Please don't misunderstand that.
I understand.
It has to do with the deal that was made, and I try to pride myself on my word, and when I told folks that this is what it's going to be, this is what was agreed to, well, I got to stand behind my word.
Well, since we're commenting along those lines, as the sole builder-developer on this board, most people would suspect my sentiments probably lie in cutting some slack in areas where errors can happen. Mm-hmm. To me, an error is when your steps are a 1/4 inch off, or the roof pitch is a little bit off and, you know, may have extended the pitch, something like that. Missing a grade by a couple of feet is not an error. That was just somebody not keeping their eye on the ball. Yeah. And to me, that's not a mistake. That's something that really is out of compliance with the requirements of the special use permit. Under the only circumstances I would consider not holding you to that is if there were time and you could satisfy all the people up there and they came back to us and said, hey, we don't object any longer because of what they'll do. But as it is right now, Mr. Petrie and Mr. Idlet are absolutely right. We made a commitment to those people. You made a commitment to those people, and now you're asking us to change ours because you couldn't keep yours. Now, any other comments, questions? Ma'am, did you want to come forward and speak? You have to be sworn in, of course, and testimony has to be something of a...
I would like to, I did not sign up before, I'm sorry, but there are
Sorry,
words that
come forward and... If you'll find the Bible up there, put your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, now, in terms of testimony for a special use permit, it must be testimony of a nature in which you are expert. We can't accept testimony of opinion or, for instance, petitions where the person is not here to be cross-examined. It has to be something you actually have knowledge of or would be expected to be.
I do,
Okay,
by virtue of being here this evening. My name is Fran Grossman. I'm living at 473 Clamshell Court in Kerala. Dan Scallon and I know each other, and he will tell you I think that I'm not a terrible person. And thank you for following up today, Dan. I had some conversation today. I want to thank you for the stand that I think that you're about to take here. We can't let the horse out of the barn. There are other incidences occurring in Kerala right now having to do with this client. We need to hold firm and stand together and have some sort of standard from which we cannot go further. And I thank you all very, very much.
Thank you. Not hearing any other persons wanting to speak, I will close the public comment and ask the board what the pleasure of the board is. We have a motion and a second to deny. All in favor of denying the amendment to the SUP, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, the motion is denied for the amendment. Okay. Item C, public hearing, community development block grant. Currituck County is accepting citizens' comment on the grant application. A list of applicants will be presented at the hearing, and I presume it's Mr. Scanlon, or you have someone? Mr. Woody's doing this again, too. All right.
I'm doing everything tonight.
Well, you do it very well, so we commend you in your brevity.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I was on for our last night of streaming video, so I think my wife's one of the 5 people that watch it.
Oh.
6. This is the second public hearing for our community development block grant program. As I mentioned at our last meeting, the county has applied for funds through the scattered site housing program. What that does, it provides the county with $400,000 to assist low-income or severely low-income households with major house repairs, including reconstruction and replacement of homes that are beyond repair. And for Currituck County, that is 50% or less of the area median income. And, of course, the lower your income is, the more points you get. The county has advertised this. We received 18 applications for assistance. I will tell you, this happened very quickly. We continue to receive applications even now. Although those are past the deadline, we'll start to pool and bank these applicants. And as we're able to continue participating in these types of programs, we'll continue to keep these applicants on our contact list. But we've got 18 applicants for assistance. The applicants had to provide proof of income, proof of ownership of their home, and then the applicants are ranked based on rating factors such as income, their status as an elderly person, a person on fixed income. Additional points were rewarded for folks that were physically handicapped or single-parent status or had minor children living in the house. So we put together a ranking, and in your packets, I think we have the 11 folks that were made the list for consideration. We have four properties that we are recommending for inclusion into this program. We also have 7 alternates. You want to keep an alternate list because as we begin to apply these funds and replace or make repairs to homes, if something doesn't work out or it turns out they're not eligible, we can then move to an alternate. What I'd like to do tonight is, again, request that the board, of course, open the public hearing, take any comments if anybody has came to speak tonight, and then beyond that, what we need to do to submit this grant or get this program moving forward is we need the board to adopt and take action on, one, submitting this grant application, basically authorizing the staff to submit this. And the second thing is giving the chairman authority to sign the contracts or the paperwork. Mr. Chairman, there's a lot of things you have to sign with this. So we need, if the board decides to move forward with this, we need a motion to, again, direct us to submit the grant application and direct us to give the chairman signing authority with this program. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
I was curious about the review process, how you're going to, assuming that we approve this, how you're going to work your way through the list and end up with the actual candidates or projects. I know we had some discussion regarding the, let's say, the inadequacy of recent attempts to rehabilitate compared to what replacement costs would probably have been in some of these projects, and which of what are you planning to do?
We do have four beneficiaries that we have selected through our process. They're in your packet. 3 of those we are recommending as replacements. So 3 of the 4 will be replacements. We have 1 property that we think qualifies as a rehab. We have had a housing rehabilitation person go out and inspect that, and by the way, we've had a person interview all these folks as well. So we've had some on-site interviews, done inspections. We had a housing rehabilitation specialist inspect the rehab property. We've also sent our chief building inspector to inspect the rehab property, and we do feel comfortable that with that particular property there are no structural issues that exist. So again, we have 3 replacements and 1 rehab, and we'll approach the rehab under the understanding there'll be no structural issues that'll be considered for that.
And the logistics of the people being displaced during replacement would be handled as part of the grant
It
program?
is. The grant will provide the funding or the assistance to handle that. So there actually is no money is spent by the county other than the staff time that we use. But all the advertising costs, the displacement costs, all that is borne by the grant program.
And the $400,000 is the maximum for which we qualify?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Okay, any way we can get that bumped up a couple of million? Looks like there's a lot of need out there.
There are other programs that exist that do provide for our Currituck residents, and we are making an attempt as a department to try to get more engaged in those and identify other funding sources that exist for housing needs or even for economic development needs.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments from the
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The TPA, the third-party administrator that's going to do this, what is their cost? What are they charging against a grant to do that?
10% of the grant cost.
So we've got 4 people we've identified for $390,000, roughly $95,000 apiece.
For $360,000. It's 10%.
I'm sorry, 10%. I'm sorry.
Yes.
$90,000 apiece.
Yes, and we think that gives us a cushion because we don't want to run into an instance where if we exceed the grant cost, then the county is on the hook. But no, we feel like we left ourselves a pretty good cushion. So we are not biting off more than we can chew, so to speak.
Boy, it's really gone up because the last one we did was what, 40,000, 45,000 was the cap on it.
Something like that.
That's the one we spent $400,000 on.
I have a question on one, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Idle.
Mr. Etheridge, you done?
Yes.
Okay. Replacing the homes, what kind of homes are we talking about replacing them with? Stick-built homes, prefab homes, modular homes, or?
They generally try to do stick-built if we can get the stick-built in the budget. If we can't do the stick-built in the budget, and they say they can, the consultant who's done this in Eastern North Carolina, thinks they have a chance at doing that. If we don't, then we move down to some sort of manufactured housing or a double-wide.
I'd like to say that we've never done stick-built homes in the time that I've been a part of this Board of Commissioners. It's always been small double-wide.
And that may be what it ends up having to be, but obviously we've got to stay within the budget that we set for each property.
I would that too, just from the standpoint of the logistics, because you could demo what's there and put one on site very quickly. Stick building it, they're going to be displaced.
Can do more.
Yeah, with less.
with less.
And they'll get a better product because it's well accepted in the industry now that despite the, I guess, the prejudice for stick-built homes, that building one out in the weather as compared to building it in a factory with jigs and machines is not comparable. Otherwise, we'd be building Fords out in the street instead of in a factory.
We can direct it that way. That's
I'd
fine.
say look at the options, but I would encourage us to go that way. I think that's
we can set that as a
technologically
preference.
better product.
That's fine.
That's how we've always done it in the past, and I mean we've some of them for like 45, 50,000. You can do a whole lot more doing that than you can doing a 90,000.
Yeah, appliances all usually come with them and everything.
One other question, Mr. Woody. Is there any size limitations?
I'm not aware of that. I can't answer that. I'm not sure, Mr. Idlett.
Would it be based on the number of people in a household, or just how?
It is. I don't know. I'll have to get. I don't know the answer to that. I would assume it's. The finalists we have, we do not have a household of 7 or 8 people. I can say that we have very small households, so I don't see us running into an issue where we're having to build a house for 7 people. I don't have the answer to that question.
But on the same hand, I certainly would not, in the future, we want to see a household like that excluded. If they had 3 or 4 kids, a man and a wife, I mean, could easily be 6 people living there.
We did not exclude households based on the number of people
I understand
at all.
that.
Yeah.
I'm just.
Mr. Idlett, looking at the list of names, I know a huge portion of them, most of them are elderly.
I totally understand that.
And widowed.
I'm talking about in the future.
Yeah.
Next year. This is this year's stuff.
Some of them you throw a cat through the wall.
Yeah. Well, I'm aware
Well,
of
if we
it.
can find some more grant money somewhere like that, too, I think this certainly would be a worthwhile thing to pursue for the county. And not only that, but it could create some work people locally, too.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question that comes to my mind, and this is just probably directed to Ben. As far as rehabbing and updating these homes, that's going to increase the value of their properties and their tax base. How is that going to affect them after this process? Is that
and we have discussed that with each of the recipients, and we've tried to make sure they're aware of that, and want to make sure they have the capacity to bear the burden of that additional tax bill. So we are aware of that. As a matter of fact, as we rank these, and I hate to say this, but we had to one ranking factor, one negative factor was folks that already owed a significant sum of back property taxes. If you're not able to keep up with your tax bill now, then likely you would have difficulty with the new structure. So we're trying to be upfront with folks.
good?
On
That's
that, and make sure
that was a concern that I had as far as the after effects.
Okay, anything further? Okay, then we need a motion.
Well, one point of clarification that was mentioned. These are grant funds that we get every 3 years. The list in front of you is not a list for this year. It is for the grant period. So this will be what we're looking to accomplish in this 3-year period.
Okay.
So it's not like next year we're going to bring you another group. These 4 houses will need to be accomplished under the budget. But we also will not be doing all of them simultaneously to make sure that we can stay under the budget.
And if I could add one last thing to what Mr. Scanlon's saying, is if we can do these 4 for less, then that means number 5 and number 6. It just keeps going down the list. That's why I raised the issue about the stick-built versus the modular and double-wide. You can do a whole lot more good that way.
In fact, that's a good analogy. One of the things accountants learn in handling accounts payable is sometimes it's better to pay the small bills first because you can pay 100 people off with a small pile of money where you may only get 2 or 3 big ones otherwise. And so it helps a lot doing that if we can concentrate on ones that are the least costly to fix.
Follow up, if I may, on what Mr. O'Neill just said. Does the state still have like a contract with a manufacturer as they have in years past to where we could get into that buy-in and purchasing power?
They have a state contract. I don't know if a prefabbed or modular unit is actually on that bidder list or not.
Because it used to be that when we did the last one, they were all part of a package deal the state had with a manufacturer.
Yeah, I just wanted to reaffirm one more time, in the future as we go along, I'd like for us to do a better job of educating everyone throughout our county to these opportunities. And so everyone from Gibbs Woods to Knights Island to Corolla to wherever has, knows about it and can apply if needed. Thank you.
Okay, well, we're going to need a motion then to proceed with the grant application and then a motion to grant the chairman signing authority.
Open the public hearing.
Open the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we'd just done the public hearing. There's nobody signed up to speak. Does anybody wish to address this matter as part of the public hearing? Okay, well, I'll close the public hearing and then ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Get to work, Mr. Woody. Consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Commissioner's report. Mr. Idler.
Don't have anything special tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Petrie.
Yeah.
Just want to make an announcement for those of you that missed night at the races. Mr. Petrie won the Crazy Hat contest. He beat me by a couple of votes, but he was truly wearing a crazy hat.
You're welcome that I didn't attend.
Ms. Gilbert.
Just a couple announcements. On this Saturday, the 24th, the Moyock Fire Department's having their annual pancake breakfast, and I understand that the Easter Bunny will be there. Breakfast is from 8 to 11. It is a fundraiser for the fire department, and then there will be an Easter egg hunt beginning at 11 o'clock. So make sure that you bring your baskets or your bags or whatever to collect your eggs and come see the Easter Bunny. He then, in turn, will be back on the 31st of March at the Bells Island clubhouse from 1 until 3. In addition to the Easter Bunny, there's going to be the Currituck Easter Pig there also. Melissa Reynolds is kind of spearheading this project. She's going to have some face painting, but it's also to benefit the Currituck Kids program. So I would invite you all to join us when the Easter Bunny visits on the 24th at the Moyock Fire Department. And then along with the Easter Bunny and the Currituck Easter Pig on the 31st at Bells Island from 1 to 3.
Yeah, you do not want to miss the Easter Pig. Mr. Martin.
Yes, I was reading Virginia Pilot yesterday and overlooked an item, and Mr. Bob Kohler gave me a call, and he said, "Hey, did you see?" And what it was, and he was talking about, was aviation jobs going between $23 and $34 per hour. And he called me, and he said, I'm just amazed at this because the College of the Albemarle, we've broken ground on it. We will have our Aviation and Regional Technical Center taking students in the first class, from what Dr. Dietermeyer said, will start next January. And so we're fast-tracking this. So, folks, men, women out there, if you're looking for a chance to upgrade your education and to get into really good-paying jobs, contact COA and see exactly what the curriculum is going to be and get on board with Currituck's new college.
Mr. Etheridge.
Nothing tonight.
Mr. O'Neill.
Mr. Chairman, I have one thing that I think our board needs to take action on. You know, the federal government has just imposed permits on the people down in Dare County to drive on the federal lands, and I forgot what the amount of the fee is. How much is it? $150. You're required to watch a hour video or whatever to drive on properties that was bought for the people of this nation to enjoy, and now it's become a place where the federal government is saying, people, you're not welcome. Congressman Jones has introduced a bill to overturn that, and I think it would behoove the Currituck County Board of Commissioners to ask to be tacked on that for our federal lands up on the North Beach and in support of what's going on in Hatteras. so that if, in fact, it is successful, we don't find out one day that they're blocking our beach from the people of North Carolina and the United States from enjoying their beach. And so I guess what I'm asking is if the board would move that forward in a request to be tacked onto that bill, and in support of that bill, our good friends in Dare County, and to include the Currituck beaches in it as well.
Yeah, I think Mr. Scanlon actually was looking into that because we discussed that the other day to find out if we could have that addition made.
I don't know if it'll happen, but at least we can go on record ahead of time.
I agree with you 100%. I think we certainly should make the effort to be included and do a preemptive strike as far as possibility of being limited for our beaches. A motion and second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Smart move. Okay. That motion carries. And Mr. Scanlon, if you will see
Yes,
what
sir.
may be done with that, maybe you and Mr. McCree see what avenue we might need to go through in order to
Yes, sir.
see if we can bring that about and having us include into that. I don't have any comments tonight, Mr. Scanlon.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anybody want to stay? Okay. All right, the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Good evening.